Okay, now remember how I said I was going to look at both X-Men Legends 1 and 2 for the next video? Well, that was before I discovered that both of these are role-playing games. For this marathon, I've jumped into these donations blind. That was part of the fun for me. No prior research until the game was completed, and it just so happened that many of these games were around the 8 to 10 hour mark, so I figured it was a safe assumption to think X-Men Legends, both of them, were around the same length. Oh, good God, no. These are full-blown action RPGs, and if I decided to make one video dedicated to both games, you guys would most likely be waiting another 3 weeks after the Bubsy video, and no, I'm not about to do that, so let's take things slowly, one step at a time. You know, after Batman, I thought Spider-Man would be the next superhero that would get some attention on this channel, but thanks to Alex, the X-Men have arrived, and the spotlight is squarely on them for the next 2 videos. A property of Marvel that explores the lives and hardships of mutants, people born with an X gene that gives them unique abilities from telepathy, optic blasts, super healing, and shooting fireworks from your hands. The X-Men are a group of mutants led by one Professor Charles Xavier that wish to spread peace and understanding to fellow mutants and humankind alike. Problem is, humans can be real assholes on things they don't understand, and not every mutant likes humans either. So naturally, this created a lot of rifts between mutant and human relations, which led to scuffles with the military, anti-mutant extremists, rogue mutants with bad attitudes, and possibly the most infamous bunch of jerkasses, the Brotherhood, a faction of mutants under the leadership of Magneto, a mutant who can manipulate magnetic fields and control anything metal, and does he have a vile hatred towards mankind? I'd be here all day if I went deep into the mythos. That's what folks like Linkara are for. But for this review, what you need to know is that Professor Xavier wants peace and love, while Magneto wants to rule mankind and feels mutants should take their place as their superiors. Did you understand all that? Excellent, because that's the entire plot of X-Men Legends. I'm going to put it out there right now. X-Men Legends, for the simple story it's trying to sell me along with the gameplay style it contains, this has no business being a 25+ hour action RPG, and it's worse if you're even slightly familiar with the mythology of X-Men, like say watch the live action films or maybe the 90s cartoon. That's me. I never really read any of the comics, I'm more of a DC guy, but I'm sure the comic book world of X-Men is filled to max capacity with different characters and different story arcs, things that when taken into account, I'm sure would make a fully fleshed out RPG. The storyline of X-Men Legends is based on the classic X-Men vs. Magneto plot, so if you were hoping for something a little more enriching, then sorry to say this isn't the game for you. You're introduced to Allison, an up-and-coming mutant that was rescued by the X-Men after a failed kidnapping attempt by Mystique, a loyal follower of Magneto. Allison is primarily the point of view team member, but instead of experiencing any real sort of development, she just serves as the link between the player and the character to learn the backstory of every other X-Men on the team. I'm down with the notion of learning about my teammates, the people I spend my journey with, but none of it contributes to the bigger picture, and hardcore fans of the universe have nothing to gain from any of it. You learn about the X-Men because they don't want to keep you in the dark, but the main story never really goes beyond, again, X-Men versus Magneto, and that's 90% of the 25-hour adventure. Everything in between can be summed up as someone's in danger, we should go save them. 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 There's a stint involving a creature known as the Shadow King that mentally kidnaps Professor Xavier in this place called the Astral Plane, but it means nothing, not even to the X-Men, it's straight up filler. For example, the X-Men enter the Astral Plane to save the Professor. Eventually they find him along with the Shadow King, and instead of saving Charles right then and there, they leave the Astral Plane to outfit the X-Jet with material that can let them fly to Magneto's base without any trouble. A subplot that has absolutely nothing to do with what's happening to Charles. Then suddenly after that, they decide to head back into the Astral Plane and rescue Charles, almost as if the team was momentarily stricken with amnesia that cost me 3 hours of my life. Later on, there's this General Kincaid dude that sort of hijacks the plot, leading to an anti-climax where the main villain we spent so long on building up as the final encounter is ultimately swept aside for Kincaid inside a giant sentinel. Magneto escapes at the end of it all, alive and well to rustle Xavier's jimmies another day. This game spent so long on a plot that the first and second movie, hell even the arcade game, spent a much shorter time telling, and it's disheartening to say that the story isn't the only thing that was stretched. X-Men Legends' total length isn't because of the plot, but rather how its game is arranged. Legends can be considered a glorified beat-em-up with RPG elements. You clobber the shit out of bad guys with your choice of X-Men and use the experience you earn to level the team up and unlock new abilities. And if there's one positive thing about X-Men Legends I can say is that fundamentally the gameplay is solid. Who doesn't like the idea of using their favorite member of the team to cause mayhem and show your displeasure against concrete walls and park benches? I love that idea, but in an RPG there needs to be more. See what I'm doing here? Within the first 10 minutes of the game, that's what you're doing for the whole ride. The whole ride. Enemies may change appearance, but strategy often does not. You finish a mission, you head back to the X-Mansion to talk to the X-Men about things, and when that's done, you head to the War Room and start a new mission. Same process, different environment, but let me tell you, this game loves dank and sterile areas. If it's not a laboratory, it's a warehouse, or a military zone, or a sewer, and there are repeat visits. In one instance, Allison was required to use the Danger Room, a holographic simulator, to pretty much go through the first level of the game again when you already did so with Wolverine and Cyclops. Oh yes, there is padding, lots of it. Destroy a certain amount of these things. Escort multiple people to one location while beating things up. The second half of the game is overloaded with tasks that make you spend an unnecessarily long time in what are otherwise condensed areas. I personally dislike when they want me to use a specific character to deal with a certain hazard. Iceman seems to only exist in this game to form ice bridges for the team to get across pits. Listen up. Here's the course of action. Cyclops, you'll lead the team into the warehouse and gather intel on Magneto's plans. Storm, you'll provide cover for the X-Jet to approach the area safely. Wolverine, you'll scope out the area and keep a lookout for enemy threats. And Iceman, you'll be placed on Ice Bridge Watch. Ice Bridges. Make it so. Here I am selecting my favorite members of the team to prepare for the next onslaught, and around the middle of the stage, I'm required to use a character that's not on my team, which means I gotta backtrack to a save point to switch things up for a moment to deal with that obstacle, and then when I'm finished with that, I gotta go back to switch again because I want the team I originally selected. If you want me to use Iceman for the mission, don't give me the option to pick other characters in the roster. Is it so wrong to think that an underground prison wouldn't need Iceman for anything? And while we're on the subject of the environment, my god, this game looks ugly. When the action heats up, then I don't mind it much. I'm too visually distracted beating things to a pulp to really observe the low quality textures, models, and frame rate. But when everything's at a standstill like in real-time cutscenes, this shit looks like a PlayStation 1 game that was just smoothed out to look next gen, and it's not animated very well in my opinion. Even the FMVs look a little on the pixelated side. I know the 6th generation could do much better than this, and seeing as this was released in 2004, they really had no reason not to try harder. But I will stress again that X-Men Legends' biggest problem is its length. A gameplay style like this is better suited for a classic beat-em-up or an adventure that should last 6 to 8 hours at most, not standard RPG length, especially with this bare-bones plot, which makes the adventure feel even longer than it actually is. There are 4 dreaded words that should never, ever come out of my mouth when I'm playing something, and that's, when does this end? When I get to that point, everything beyond that is just a slog to reach the credits and to never play that game again. And that was a state of mind I achieved very early on. I'm sorry, Alex, but X-Men Legends didn't do it for me. I mean, what else do I talk about? The voice acting? That's pretty nice. It's good to see Steve Bloom again for this marathon, even though he's not my top choice for Wolverine. And hey, it's cool to see them get Patrick Stewart reprise his live-action role as Xavier. It's so disappointing that for a game I spent what felt like an eternity on only amounted to a short review. You really do nothing else besides what I'm showing you right now. If I want to destroy countless bad guys and stop Magneto, I'll play the arcade game. It's much shorter for one thing, so I can have a fun experience with it along with my friends without asking for much of their time. Not to mention this shit's hilariously cheesy, what with the voice acting, the over-the-top feeling of it all, and a soundtrack that has a song with the only lyrics being the word X-Men. So it looks like I'm not off to a very good start, and that happens, and because of that I'm willing to give X-Men Legends 2 Rise of Apocalypse the benefit of the doubt. But we'll truly see what I think of it next week. In the meantime, thank you guys for watching. Have yourselves a great night and take care. Okay, now remember how... Okay. Every time, folks. It's not helicopter, motorcycle, car alarm, Amtrak train.